Here's a really important story. 57-year-old Michael Morton from Texas has been freed after serving 25 years in prison for a murder he did not commit. He was convicted of killing his wife. It turns out that new DNA evidence actually indicates that he did not kill his wife. Another man was found guilty of doing that. So he was just freed, and right now the state is trying to decide whether or not they want to pay him money for it. He could receive up to $2 million, and I hope he does, because he's been in jail for 25 years and probably doesn't have much going on in the outside world. So
yeah, he didn't exactly get a chance to develop a career.
Yeah.
And so apparently the standard compensation in these cases is $80,000 a year. Since he's been in prison for 25 years, that comes out to around $2 million. And you know, that's very logical. 25 years of your life to be absolutely ruined. $80,000 a year doesn't sound like a lot to me. It sounds like it's at least the right amount.
Right. I completely agree with you. When you break it down to $80,000 a year, I don't think it's nearly enough at all. I mean, the amount of time he spent in prison, 25 years, that's more than a quarter of his life behind bars for a crime he did not commit. He'll never get those years back. And
remember, of course, all the other things that go along with it, all of his neighbors, family, etc., that were told over and over in the press, this guy's guilty, he killed his wife, etc. Now, it turns out they had terrible evidence on him, as usual, right? So his son was there and said, it wasn't my dad, it was somebody else. That seems like, you know, that's not to say that that's the only evidence, because the son might be covering for him, etc., but that's a pretty important piece of evidence. And what else was there?
Well, I think an important aspect of the story is the district attorney at the time by the name of John Bradley. So John Bradley has been a topic of discussion in Texas for a while now because of the fact that he was known for hiding important evidence when it came to the cases. So in this particular case, he basically suspended evidence indicating that his son said that his father was not the person who committed the crime.
And also, they had found that somebody else had had gotten the credit cards of the wife and spent some money on those. So that gives you an excellent sense that there was a robbery, and you know the person who actually spent her money. Which, if you're a cop or you're a prosecutor, you should immediately investigate that. I would think, well, there's an excellent chance that that's the guy who did it, right? Mm-hmm. But all of that gets covered up. And many years later, through DNA testing, which they did not have back when he was first convicted, they find that the bandana that was found nearby did have his wife's blood and the DNA of a guy who had done a very similar crime. Turns out that's the guy, another similar crime, that's the guy who actually did it, and there was no DNA of the husband there in that crime scene on the bandana or otherwise.
Right.
So he's finally cleared, and then I love his quote. He said, quote, "I thank God this wasn't a capital case, that I only had life because it gave these saints here at the Innocence Project time to do this." The Innocence Project is the one that goes around testing DNA to make sure we got the right guy. In this case, again, thank God he wasn't executed. He could have been. It is Texas. And we were able to correct this mistake.